Good morning, everybody. Hope you had a great weekend. Thank you for starting your day and your week out here as we continue to look at the book of Psalms. And so, if you will, join me as we go back to the 136th Psalm and starting in the 23rd verse this morning. Like and share the post if you will. And then look with me there, verse 23. Who remembered us in our low estate, for his mercy endureth forever, and hath redeemed us from our enemies, for his mercy endureth forever. And the psalmist is just continuing again to remember and to recount, to list all of the great things that God had done for them. And this psalm was sung by those, written and sung by the Jews that came out of the 70 years of Babylonian captivity. And so they were just particularly um, happy with God. If you know the Old Testament, you know that sometimes the Jews were not happy with God. Sometimes God wasn't happy with them. But they are, in this psalm, just overjoyed. They are thrilled, singing about God's deliverance, what He did for them as He brought them out of their captivity, had got them, set them free, and allowed them to be able to return to Jerusalem. And they say there in verse 23, as He remembered us in our low estate. God didn't forget them while they were in their captivity, even though they had been disobedient, even though the reason they were in captivity was because of their sin, because of their rebellion against God and His Word and His principles for them. And they'd been warned repeatedly and continued in that sin. And eventually, God allowed them to be carried off into captivity. And that was, again, as they say here, their low estate. And it's bad enough, I guess, um, to be driven out of your land and to be held captive. But it was particularly hard for the Jews who rightfully believed that they were the chosen of God. And so it was extremely embarrassing for them. It would be, um, kind of a poor analogy would be if you had here we are, we're in baseball season. If you had you had a team that was supposed to win by, they were so much better than the other team, they were supposed to win by 10 runs, but instead got beat by 20. It would be particularly embarrassing for them. And so for the Jews, this was really a low position. They were humbled, they were broken as they had been carried captive and were being disciplined by God. Yet He remembered them even in that situation. In verse 24, they say, He has brought us, He has set us free, got us away from our enemies. And again, God, again, even though He disciplined them, He never He never forgot His people, and would later bring them home, bring them back to their land. And again, this is just again a picture for us of what God has done for the New Testament believer. That He rescues us from the penalty of sin. The Jews were suffering the penalty or as the New Testament phrase, the wages of sin. They were in captivity, they were in bondage. As a lost person, if you didn't know Jesus Christ, you are in the penalty of sin. But God remembered you and sent his son to die for you and saved you. And even now, when he disciplines us, he doesn't forget us, he doesn't abandon us. Just as a good parent, now I realize there's bad parents out there, a good parent who disciplines their child. They do that they discipline that child for a purpose. They do it for a reason. They do it because they love that child, and they don't abandon or disown that child. Many times, probably a lot of parents have had the experience of child disobeying, and you discipline the child, and later you go back and sit down with that child and say, listen, I want you to know, I want you to understand why I had to do that. Why I had to punish you, because I love you, and you try, and you want them to understand. And God's discipline and His correction on our life is always for our benefit, for our growth. God is not a mean and a vindictive God, but one who loves us and wants to see us mature and grow in our faith and in our walk with Him. And sometimes it requires that He discipline His children. Hard for us to accept. Hard, I don't know any child that likes discipline, but most of us who are adults now, as we look back over our life, we are grateful for parents who were willing to do take the hard steps and discipline us when we were young, and raise us correctly so that we could mature and be part of society. And that's on a much higher plane. That's God's desire for us. He may have to discipline us on occasion, but it's also that we can grow and mature and be the people, be the person that He desires us to be. So you think about that today, and think about the discipline of God and the reward, the fact that He never leaves us, even in times of discipline. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.